use it.
I like it.
I'm regretting.
Oh, we thought we were going to be in here earlier.
I know. Okay, so what is hybrid teaching? It is teaching your virtual students and your in-person students at the same time. You have already been teaching virtually. The only difference is now some students will be looking at their computer screen and other students will be looking at the whiteboard and what is being projected on there. And we know that dividing your attention may seem overwhelming, but I think this method will help make that seem a little bit easier. Like I said, hybrid teaching is not going to be teaching in person the same way that we have for years. It is going to be teaching virtually, except now you have students sitting in front of you who are watching you. And once you kind of change your mindset that this is different, this is 2020, everything is different this year, that's the biggest obstacle that you have to get over. What do I need? You need a projector, computer connected to a projector, webcam or laptop with camera, speakers, and then some optional items are your document camera, iPad, and if you teach from a presentation, that presentation. What are the logistics? You are the teacher facilitator. Mr. Cole said this yesterday, that we, especially in the younger grades, I know, they are very much the teacher, the leader of the room. However, as we get older, we start to learn how to be the facilitator more, and this model really, and especially virtual teaching, really makes you be the facilitator more so than the leader of the classroom. So you are facilitating their learning. You're teaching virtually with students in front of you. And you will display what you're sharing with your virtual students on the whiteboard at the front of the classroom. So here are some vocabulary terms to know. Presenting is how you will share your screen so that students who are virtual can see what you are teaching. So in Microsoft Teams, it looks like the white rectangle with arrow, and on Zoom, it's the green rectangle or square with arrow saying share screen. Projecting, so just as presenting was so that your virtual students can see what you're teaching, projecting is what you do for your in-person students to see what you are doing. So this is where you display what is virtual on the whiteboard using your projector for your student persons to see. This is how you would normally show videos in your classroom. Audio sharing is super important. It's how you will click on the toggle button within your Microsoft Teams or Zoom meeting. When you are in a Microsoft Teams meeting, you click on this button that says include computer sound. Once you click on it, it highlights. And if you're in Zoom, you click these two buttons to make them blue to share your sound. All right, there are 3 different types of devices that you might be using to teach from. A teaching computer, a projector computer, and a monitoring device. So right here you can see we have 2 teaching computers. This is how you are leading the lesson through your virtual class meetings. A projector computer is the computer that you have connected to your projector. This might be the same computer that you're teaching from. Like Sunny uses the same computer to host her meetings as well as to project her image on the whiteboard. However, I use a separate laptop to teach from, and then I join my Microsoft Teams meeting from my projector computer so that students who are in person can see what I'm sharing virtually. And then a monitoring device is an iPad or another device like a laptop. You want this to be a little bit more mobile so that you can carry it around with you in your classroom. And it's so that you can monitor your virtual students as they work and make sure they're not bouncing around and getting into mischief, make sure they're focused. And you can also use it to share your various teaching apps that you might have loaded onto that device. You also might want to use a document camera, which is good for showing what you're writing down on a paper in front of you or to show how you would use manipulatives. All right, so there's 2 different scenarios. The first one is if you teach from the projector computer like Sunny. So what you would do is you would first start your virtual class meeting on Microsoft Teams or Zoom on that computer, and then you would turn your projector on, make sure your projector sound is on, and then display your virtual class meeting on the whiteboard in front for your in-person students to see. And make sure you're always sharing your device audio. So here's a video that explains this scenario, teaching from your projector computer. In this video, we're going to demonstrate how to teach hybrid, teaching students in person and virtual simultaneously. The first step is to open up your virtual class meeting on Microsoft Teams or Zoom. Join your meeting.
Mine never opens up that fast.
So now we can see our virtual students. The next step is to turn on your projector and make sure the sound on your projector is on. Next step is to share your screen. Make sure to include computer sound, and then click on the presentation that you teach from. Now, students who are in person can see on the front whiteboard what students who are virtual can see. And you can see that our student in person has all of their supplies individually assigned to them. And the teacher can choose to teach from the computer, or if you have a Vimeo or some other kind of smart board, you can teach from the board. You will continue teaching the same way that you would teach virtually, except now you have students in person who can also see what you are teaching. And then what you can't see in that video is we also turn Sunny's computer screen around towards the front of the room, so that even when she's at the front of the room, she can still see what her students are doing in that gallery view.
But you can do that with your yeah.
You can do that with your iPad or laptop as well.
We're just trying to show that it can be one computer.
All right, so the second scenario is if you teach from a computer that is not connected to your projector. This is what I do. So what I have is I'll have a teaching computer, which is my laptop, and I will start my virtual class meeting on Microsoft Teams or Zoom there. Then I will go over to my projector computer, join the meeting there, make sure I have the projector turned on, and the important thing to remember is that you turn your projector computer sound off. Otherwise you're going to have that reverb, that echo that's horrible. Then you want to make sure that what you're sharing in your team meeting is visible on the whiteboard for your students to see. And then you can begin teaching from your teaching computer. And then here is an explanation of that scenario. In this video, we're going to demonstrate how to teach hybrid, teaching students who are in person as well as students who are virtual, using a computer that is not connected to your projector. So we call this our teaching computer. So the first thing you want to do is start your virtual class meeting on Microsoft Teams or Zoom on your teaching computer. Join your meeting. And we can see that we have our first virtual student who has joined. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to use a monitoring device. So if you have an iPad or a laptop and you would like to keep track of what your students are doing in the gallery view, you'll log into your Microsoft Teams, go to the channel where you are meeting, and if it is connected through Bluetooth, it will join. So I can see my students there. The next step would be to come over to my projector computer, and I already have Microsoft Teams opened up, and I'm going to join this meeting on here. And now I do not have camera or microphone on this computer. I want since I'm not teaching from my projector computer, I want my sound to be off. So I'm going to join this. If you have all that off, it'll prevent that echo, that feedback. And so now I have that there. I'm going to turn on the projector, and I want to make sure that the sound is off on the projector. Then I'm going to put what is being displayed up onto the front screen so that students in person can see what I'm sharing. Then the next step is to share your screen. So whatever you are sharing, include computer sound and open up your presentation. So here's our presentation, and you can continue to teach right here from your teacher computer. So
through all these steps.
So that the laptop you would have to have speakers for.
Right.
If you have a video or some kind of smart board, you can teach using your video. So if I want this to go ahead and hurry up and join it, then I
So the
can
virtual
just
students
click
only
through the
see what's
presentation up here.
on the presentation, when you're doing the presentation, they don't see you actually
If I was gonna
manipulating
be
the
up
stuff.
there,
They
I
will
would
see it
definitely
move
want
around
to
on their
bring my
screen.
monitor
They
Right,
just
but
won't
they
see
don't-
me being the person who clicks to make it happen. And that's the same thing that they normally see in the, when you're teaching
Make
normal.
sure that you
true,
are
because my
looking
camera
at
doesn't work.
what your students are doing. And if we had
I
more
can't use
students in
camera
this
share
meeting
screen
right now,
anytime.
then I would be able to see a gallery view. So I can carry my virtual students around with me here while I'm clicking through here to go to the next slide.
Your presentation from your teacher computer, you will not be able to manipulate using your Vimeo. If you want to manipulate using your Vimeo, you have to be presenting in the Microsoft Teams meeting from your projector computer. So instead of me sharing my screen on my teacher computer, I would do that on my projector computer.
Right.
Alright, should I use a monitoring device? It is super helpful, but it's not necessary. It's very helpful if you want to be moving around your classroom so that you can see your students in the gallery view. Also, these are 3 of the apps that we've found really useful in 3rd grade. Easy Teach, where you can upload PDFs and write on them. ShowMe is just a simple whiteboard app that you can use to write on. And then Kindle, for you to buy virtual books, read, and share on screen with your students to follow along.
Quick question, is Easy Teach like Cami?
It is, but it's better.
Oh, is it?
Because it's an actual app on your iPad. But I think, Tara, you use Cami from the browser.
From the browser, yes.
That's what, is Cami on the Chromebooks? I mean, I guess we'll find out when the kids come
The
back.
kids
but-
do not use Easy Teach.
No.
We use
No.
Easy Teach to teach from.
Yeah, these are teaching
Oh,
apps.
so instead of like the Slate, like I use the Slate to do
Right.
an
Yeah.
Active Inspire, so it's like Active Inspire,
Yes.
but a newer
Right.
version. Okay, thank you, that helped me.
Alright, what do I do now? You're going to teach the same way that you've been teaching virtually. Again, you're not going to teach the same way that you have been teaching in person for so many years. You're going to be teaching the same way that you have been since the beginning of this school year. Except now you have students in front of you watching in person at what is being projected on the whiteboard. What are my students doing? Your virtual students are following along as usual by looking at their computer screen. Your in-person students are following along with what you're teaching virtually by looking up at the whiteboard at the projected image, and also they can watch you and what you're doing in your classroom. Will virtual students be on the computer all day? No, they will still get their scheduled downtime and brain breaks. They will only be on the computer for your usual scheduled synchronous virtual class meetings. So that means right now, if you have them to be on a class meeting from 8:30 to 10:20, that's when they will be on there. After 10:20, they're off. And they won't, and then they won't be on the computer in your meeting until your next meeting with them. And whenever they're not in a meeting with you, that is when they can do the regularly scheduled asynchronous activities that you already have built into your schedule. What about my students in person? When you're not in your synchronous virtual class meetings, that's when you will be able to work with your in-person students. When you're with your in-person students, you're not teaching them virtually. They won't have to look at the whiteboard because you can actually teach with them. But you will make sure that you are teaching the best that you can following the CDC guidelines. Social distancing still applies, and manipulatives should not be utilized by the students. In-person students can still work on computer assignments during these days that they are at school. They will need to transport their computers and chargers in 2-gallon Ziploc bags. And then for protection, you can wrap a kitchen towel in there just for a little cushion. And then I can't use manipulatives. Well, you can, but your students cannot, unless your students could use manipulatives if they are virtual, that they're using on their computer, or if you have enough manipulatives that you can wrap individually for each student so that they're not sharing manipulatives and they won't have to share with anyone from a different day. Or if they have manipulatives that they can bring from home to not share with anyone and only use themselves, or if you have disposable like paper manipulatives for them to use. Also, you can use your document camera to show how you might use manipulatives if you don't have enough manipulatives for each student to have their own set. Speaking of not sharing, these are some items that should be individually assigned to one specific student so that they do not share. So these things could be in a crate or a Ziploc bag for them to have whenever they are in person. What are your questions?
Can you go back to where you had the thing where you had easy? I missed the other. I know you had Kindle, but what was the other one?
ShowMe.
ShowMe. What's ShowMe?
ShowMe is just a simple whiteboard app
Oh, okay.
where you can just write or work out problems.
Have you tried the? I haven't done the Microsoft whiteboard. I don't know which one's
think
better.
we
I
have-
prefer, we do use it, but I prefer Easy Teach.
Easy Teach is also a whiteboard app. I just I like the way ShowMe is set up for a whiteboard app rather than Easy Teach. Easy Teach I use for uploading PDFs, but you can simply
well, it
just
sounds
use
like it's like the Active Inspire with the slate, and
yes.
I still use mine every day.
It's just like that.
It's dying, but it's slowly dying.
Yeah. Do any virtual people have questions?
And because I didn't think about it earlier, but when you're walking around with your iPad
Yeah.
or monitoring device, you can turn the microphone on that and off on your teaching computer.
That's true. You
So
could.
you can,
So they can hear you
They
better.
can hear you.
The most important thing is to make sure that you do not have
The sound.
sound or microphone going on two different devices, otherwise it's awful.
Oh, I know.
And
We
I'm
get
sure you
feedback
know
from
about
the
it.
students. Oh yeah, I'm like, turn off your mics.
And I'm turning up my sound now, so if you are virtual and you have any questions, you can speak up or raise your hand. But yeah.
Okay, so that's pretty much what I was thinking. That works.
And you probably do the same thing we do. We have a presentation for the day, so we just run through that presentation.
Well, I like when you were sharing your screen, I don't share my presentation. I actually share like my laptop screen because I am clicking through. Because I take them and I show them the steps. Like, okay, you start here, you click on here. I show them where to go and what it's going to look like, and this is what. So, and then like if I'm reading a story, I have the questions up there for them while I'm reading. Because my computer's it's 7 years old, and I cannot share screen and have the camera on at the same time. Otherwise, everything freezes, everything crashes, and
Right.
they lose me for about 20 minutes. So I'm like, okay, I'm just a voice in a box.